Every once in a while, I get asked to do a keyboard review, and when I get it in my hands, I always try to answer one simple question. Where does this product fit in the market? What's its appeal? Monsgeek sent me the M1 V5 Thailand edition keyboard, and this was the first time I had trouble answering that question. On paper, it checks all the boxes. The chassis is CNC machined out of aluminum with a matte-like surface finish. The highlight of this keyboard is without a doubt its ball catch quick release mechanism that allows you to take it apart effortlessly to tinker or do some maintenance. Inside, it uses a gasket mounted structure together with a polycarbonate plate for a softer typing experience. It's also pretty hefty, weighing at 1.8 kilograms and definitely feels premium in the hands. The M1 V5 supports 3 connection modes: wired USB-C, Bluetooth 5.0, and 2.4 GHz wireless using an included receiver. Bluetooth can simultaneously pair up to 3 devices, while also being in wired mode and connected via 2.4 GHz. So you can technically switch between as many as 5 devices depending on your workflow. Battery capacity is at a sizable 8000 mAh, making it one of the larger batteries you will find in a 75% aluminum keyboard. This Thailand edition is not QMK or VIA compatible. Instead, customization is handled through the browser-based Monsgeek driver, allowing key remapping, macro creation, and RGB customization. A local standalone installer is available for download too. The keyboard is hot swappable with support for both 3-pin and 5-pin MX-style mechanical switches. This unit comes with the only option of being equipped with pre-looped creamy yellow U1 long pole linear switches, featuring a 45 grams operating force, 2mm pre-travel, and 3.6mm total travel. It's closer to a long pole switch than not. Stabilizers come pre-installed, are plate-mounted, and factory-looped. For keycaps, the M1 V5 has the timeline-themed PBT die-subbed keycap set, using Monsgeek's latest and newest ACA profile, which is a custom sculpted profile designed to improve ergonomics. This is a compact 75% NC layout, and unfortunately, the Thailand edition does not support ISO. There is also a rotary encoder which I've mapped for easy audio controls. Internally, the keyboard uses a fairly comprehensive acoustic package consisting of Poron plate foam, PE foam, a PET film layer to isolate the batteries, and a 3mm thick Poron case foam, all sitting inside a gasket-mounted structure with a PEC plate. Without even laying a finger on the keys, I know it's going to sound deep. Stay tuned for the sound test. So as I went through the specs, several red flags popped up. But let's save that for last. Let's be gentle with Monsgeek and start with the neutral aspects of the M1 V5. Like I said before, on paper the M1 V5 timeline is pretty decent and sits somewhere in the middle amongst its competition. At a penny under $110 US, it isn't exactly cheap, but it's not that expensive either. The challenge is that this price bracket is incredibly competitive. Keychron, Newfie, and other several brands all offer keyboards around this same pricing, many of which provide more mature software and greater levels of customization, which I will elaborate more in a bit. So the rotary encoder is another area that lands squarely in the middle for me. Rotation feels very smooth, although personally I prefer a little bit more tactile feedback. It just makes volume adjustment that bit more satisfying. Smooth indeed, but just a little meh. And then the keycaps. Monsgeek's sculpted ACA profile, the first of its kind, feels somewhere between Cherry and SA. I quickly adapted to them. But if you've been typing on Cherry MX keycaps all along, expect a small adjustment period before they start feeling natural. Or you can just use your own MX style keycaps like GMK or DCS and keep everything familiar. Pretty boring so far, as you can tell. But I have to admit, there were a couple of things that stood out as I used the keyboard more. First up, the acoustics. This keyboard sounds fantastic straight out of the box. It's got a deep tone and a comfortable level of stiffness. Well, let me just show you instead of just yapping away. See, the switches come well lubricated, the stabilizers are clean, and unlike many pre-builds nowadays, I honestly don't feel the need to take it apart and tune it. It sounds exactly how I expect a premium aluminum keyboard to sound. And then there's the battery. Monsgeek somehow squeezed two 4000 mAh batteries inside this keyboard. I've been using it over Bluetooth for a little more than 2 weeks, and connection has been stable, and it hasn't run out of juice even once. In fact, when I first received the keyboard, the battery wasn't even fully charged. It arrived at roughly 80%, and I hit the ground running with it. So, if concerns over battery life is something you have experienced with wireless keyboards before, this keyboard should put those worries to rest. The M1 V5 allows you to easily take apart the whole keyboard due to its ball catch system. Simply press down on the keyboard with your thumbs and using your fingers, pry the case upwards to pop it open. Remember to take the knob out, otherwise you might get stuck. If everything you've seen so far got you interested, remember you can use my affiliate link or discount code link down below. Although, please wait until I finish covering the cons about this keyboard, because there are also some ugly things that you absolutely need to know. Let's start with what I think is the biggest disappointment. You only get one switch option when purchasing the Timeline Edition. No tactiles, no silent switches, no heavier variants. You can get add-ons, but that's an additional cost right from the start. For a keyboard aimed at enthusiasts, that feels surprisingly uncharacteristic. The software is also one of Monsgeek's weak points. Like the Air 01 I reviewed in my last video, a number of keys are reserved for system functions, meaning they simply cannot be remapped. If you are someone who likes fully customizing your layout, you will quickly find yourself wanting more. Like its Echo sibling, updating the firmware requires downloading an additional plugin. If that's the case, you might as well just download the entire standalone installer. It's not the end of the world, but like I mentioned in my previous video, it just feels completely at odds with the convenience of having a browser-based customizer. You use a browser because you don't want to install third-party software, and yet, well, you get the point. And then there's something I genuinely couldn't figure out. There's a safeguard that Monsgeek put here where you have to press the encoder knob once to unlock it for use, and then press it again to lock it. However, this means that the key press cannot be used at all, since it's reserved for locking and unlocking the knob. Honestly, I think they should just remove this safeguard completely, because the chances of someone accidentally rotating the knob is very slim. And speaking of the encoder, interestingly, Monsgeek also chose to use a friction fit knob instead of using a set screw to secure the knob to the D-type shaft. This also means that it is really hard to take it off. And in what scenario would you want to take it off? Well, if you want to take apart the keyboard, you need to first take out the knob. So, without using a tool for leverage, it's going to be hard to pry it off. But if you use a tool, this knob is going to get scratched. So this knob literally discourages you to do what the keyboard's ball catch design is meant to encourage: customization. The RGB brightness implementation also feels unfinished. Anything below brightness level 3 starts behaving strangely in certain presets. When typing quickly, the LEDs almost appear to flicker, making it look like the LEDs themselves are faulty. This really needs fixing. Another questionable design choice is the location of the toggle to switch between Windows and Mac. You have to remove the caps lock key because the switch sits underneath it. Switching between layouts then becomes remove keycaps, flip switch, put the keycaps back. Can you hear me shaking my head? So what did Monsgeek have to say about these things? Technical issues like the RGB flickering have been forwarded to their engineering team for bug fixes, so good news there. Regarding the toggle between Windows and Mac, Monsgeek explained that moving the switch would require redesigning the case, and more importantly, they intentionally wanted to preserve the clean exterior without having another switch protruding from the side or the rear of the keyboard. They also pointed out that, realistically, most users choose either Windows or Mac during the initial setup, and rarely touch the switch again afterwards. From then on, changing between wired, Bluetooth, and 2.4 GHz is handled entirely through keyboard shortcuts. And honestly, I think that's a fair point. My initial reaction was, why hide something I have to remove a keycap to access? But after hearing the explanation, I can briefly understand the design trade-off. Personally, I still prefer a more accessible solution, especially for people who regularly switch between operating systems. But if you are someone who sets it once and forgets about it, or have different keyboards for different machines, this is unlikely to bother you. Monsgeek also told me that this Timeline Edition is intended for users who simply want a traditional mechanical keyboard without paying extra for Hall effect or TMR technology. They also mentioned that majority of their buyers ended up choosing the same switch anyway, so they decided to standardize on having just one option, the creamy yellow U1 switches. They did add that more switch options could come in the future depending on demand. So who is this exactly for? Why would someone spend $110 on the M1 V5 Timeline Edition specifically? Well, one, you would really love the keycap design. And two, I'm honestly struggling to come up with another reason. And that's ultimately my biggest issue with this keyboard. If the Timeline Edition existed on its own, I'll probably be much more forgiving. It has a premium aluminum chassis, an excellent typing sound, fantastic battery life, and one of the easiest keyboards to disassemble that I've ever used. But Monsgeek already sells the VIA, Hall Effect, and TMR versions built on the exact same template. The same CNC aluminum case, the same quick release ball catch design, and the same overall build quality. Yet, the VIA version gives you proper VIA compatibility without relying on proprietary software. The HE and TMR versions bring features that many gamers are actively looking for today. Depending on the model, you also get more choices in switches and keycap designs right from checkout. So naturally, I keep asking myself, why would I choose the Timeline Edition? And unfortunately, aside from preferring this particular Timeline keycap aesthetic, or specifically wanting to try out their new ACA profile keycaps, I don't think the answer is obvious. That is not to say that this is a bad keyboard. In fact, it is a very good keyboard. The problem is that not only are there keyboards out there as good as this one, the Timeline Edition is also competing against Monsgeek's own lineup. And in my opinion, that's where it struggles the most. If you're already considering an M1 V5, I'll spend a bit more time comparing the VIA, HE, and TMR versions before pulling the trigger. One of those might actually suit your needs better. And after all that, you still decide the Timeline Edition is the one for you, you can use my affiliate code BEN from SG for a small discount at checkout. It helps support the channel and keeps me making reviews like this. Alright, I'm done. See ya.